my big thing's neuroscience, and it fascinates me that Wilder took that moment of silence. How did that make you feel? Did that make you feel more empowered?
No, it didn't really make me feel anything, to be fair, because I thought it was quite a clever move from Deontay Wilder. He doesn't do a lot of clever stuff. He's not the most articulate person in the world, but he did something where he couldn't be asked questions for the things he'd said. If he'd have come into the press conference answering everything, the first thing the press was going to do is tear him apart about the glove allegations and the costume and the trainer and the drugs in his water, and the long list continues on. So how would he answer those questions? He's not going to be able to. So taking the vow of silence was probably the best move he could have done.
But standing there 5 minutes and 41 seconds is just, I mean, you know, we've joked about it without being crude. You know, it's time to have sex twice and a bottle of vodka and a cigar, isn't it? I mean, that's just, it's such a long time to stand on stage. How did that feel in that moment?
Again, no, it was, we were standing there. It was his choice to stand and not turn away for a minute or two. And all of a sudden, he was feeling uncomfortable and jittery, and I could see him, he was twitching a little bit and stuff. So his trainer came over and rescued him, only touched him on the shoulder and said, "That'll do now, D." And he was so happy to be rescued. So if you were going to go to the point of not looking away for 5 minutes and 41 seconds, why turn away and give a moral victory away straight away like that?
The things that, obviously, like...
Those are the words of Tyson the Gypsy King Fury as he answers the questions of the silence of Deontay Wilder and how he felt about Deontay. And first of all, he said Deontay Wilder is not the most articulate person, you know, and it was a smart move by him to be quiet because the media would have ripped him apart. Now, let me counterpunch. I do believe that because when you've said that much, it's kind of like it's not a good idea to try to defend yourself there, because he would have wasted a lot of energy defending himself because of the things that he said, and he let other people talk him and get him into. Okay, because Mark Breland would have came up, the gloves would have came up, the spiked water, of course, would have came up. You know, him talking about what Tyson Fury did in other fights and to sparring partners and stuff, that would have came up. And a lot of that would have just been swept under the rug, because those type of questions that would have asked Deontay, he would have spent a lot of time trying to either deflect them or trying to explain them. And it's hard to try to explain something without evidence, but I still, if he had the evidence, I would have still done it. Because he didn't say anything to Tyson Fury, but I think that's the reason. Because had he said something, that would have opened the worms and opened that door for all these reporters to like, hey, Deontay, do you think, what's going on with this? Do you think he cheated you? How did he cheat you? You know. But I mean, if that was the case, he should have came prepared. And that's my thing. You know, you had all these people around you that you call brother and things of that. They could have put together for you. I mean, they've reopened the, the petition, right? To keep or to reopen the investigation. They reopened the petition. I don't know how many people signed it. I think about 20,000 people signed it, or maybe more, to start the petition for the Nevada Athletic Commission to launch an investigation about the gloves, you know, like a resto aftermath or a margarito aftermath. And knowing anything aftermath don't work. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't catch a person red-handed, that shit ain't gonna work. You know, and what you talking about that happened to your head, you know what I mean? How can you prove that? But again, he says he has proof. I'm waiting for him to have proof of whether he wins or he loses. Now, I want to share this with you before I wrap up. Let's say Wilder loses. Do you think then he would be compelled, because he lost, to open this evidence or to present this evidence now finally, because, I mean, he had nothing to lose then. He thought he could get it back in blood if he loses, if he falls in the ring and he loses to Tyson Fury, especially in a similar fashion if they ended up, you know, stopping the fight, him knocked out on the floor or whatever, because Tyson was able to get the better of him or whatnot. You know, will he then in return, hey, I was cheated and here's the evidence? You think he will do that at that point? You know, because at the end of the day, I think that Deontay Wilder himself, just like Shelly Finkel recommended, I wouldn't have done that, and he shouldn't have done that. Because, see, since you done that, since you said that, you're responsible for those statements. You're responsible now. Since you said that shit, you're responsible for producing and backing what you said and what you spoke on. Okay, let your words mean some meaning. If now, see, him not saying anything at that press conference, it just made you think, oh man, well, you full of shit. Or you scared, you know, or both. You know what I mean? Because you didn't, if anything that defines Deontay Wilder is outspoken. I mean, when you don't get that, that may be a good or a bad thing. You know, because I've never seen it before. You know what I mean? And so if that's all it takes for you to silence you as a loss, that's not a good sign, because that is what silenced you. And then that, see, we're yet to be convinced that that loss didn't silence him. Understand that. See, he's saying, oh, well, I'm fine, I'm this, I'm that, but you're not the same. Like Andre Ward, you're not the same. You're not the same person that you were. So back to Tyson Fury, it was like, you know, and I'm listening to him speak because I'm looking to see if there's any hesitation. He was like, well, no, I mean, there was nothing he really could say, and it was probably the best thing he could have done. You know, because they would have ate him alive and he would have ended up looking like a fool. Now, that was a low blow, him saying he wasn't really the most articulated person. That was cold. But anyway, other than that, that's the words from Tyson Fury. You guys tell me what you think about his statements towards Deontay Wilder. Please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.